The white cells might be high, but the hemoglobin and platelets usually go lower. It's below normal. While in chronic leukemia or proliferative leukemia, usually the counts are higher. Especially the white cell counts in the platelets, usually they are higher. If you look at the peripheral smear on a low power, on a scanner, the most important thing that will hit you is that they are monomorphic cells. You know that there is a problem. So first thing when you look under the low power or the scanner, first thing you see are monomorphic cells. Then you have to spend more time on that slide. They appear to be therefore monoclonal rather than polyclonal, and therefore a problem. If you get the presence of an OROD in the glass, it is quite suggestive of an AML, and you can stick your neck out and say OROD seen suggestive of AML. Further investigation as per the clinical picture. Many times when there are very few cells, while making the smear, like Madam very rightly said, what's the point of the leukocytes are all pushed towards the absolute tail? You might have to search for these, and one of the things I have realized is along the edges of the smear. For some reason these blasts tend to be there in the edge of the smear. Can we report them? I don't know, because maybe on the edges some of the cells get distorted, the morpho is not clear. But if you are seeing a cytoplasm intact, if you are seeing a nucleus, you can comment on it. Do not comment on cells which do not have a cytoplasm intact, because then there could be anything broken off and you are not supposed to comment. But along the edges I have seen many times, you can pick up these blasts, and I would say for leukopenics, search in that area. If you don't have the facility to make a bucket photo, so you can make a bucket photo. Again, general tips. Usually myeloid cells, to differentiate from myeloid lymphoid, many times is difficult. Please remember, all the textbook mentions brilliant stuff. When you're actually seeing the slide, depending upon your stain, depending on the method of preparation of the smear, many times you're squirming in your seat and you don't know what to call it. Please remember, the teaching is that you are not expected to give an answer of myeloid or lymphoid. It's very clear on the peripheral smear. You are expected to say blasts present suspicious of acute leukemia or suggestive of acute leukemia. It is left to the clinician to differentiate between them. Why? Suppose you were unable and you had written ALL, acute lymphatic leukemia, it turns out to be acute myeloid leukemia. And like Madam says, you lose that patient. They will say, "Isko malum." So there's no need for you to put between lymphoid and myeloid. You say acute leukemia and you are able to further differentiate it. Anyway, we have to do additional tests in order to make the diagnosis. However, if on the smear you are seeing large number of smudge cells, that gives an idea that this could be lymphoid. So in that case, you can stick your neck out and say, look, this might be a lymphoid leukemia. That can be done. Because myeloid leukemia, we rarely see any smudge cells on the smears. Lymphoid maybe that we see. We have been taught that if you get vacuolation in a lymphoid blast, it is equivalent to L3. It is not true. All lymphoblasts which have got vacuolation are not necessarily L3. L2 can also have vacuolation in the cytoplasm. And when you do a marrow, you may not see such amounts of vacuolation in the marrow. And when you do CT scans, you don't find a bulky mass anywhere. And therefore, this could also be seen in L2. So all vacuolated lymphoblasts need not be Burkitt's type. You have to have further investigations to be done. Coming to the actual problem of bone marrow. You're doing a marrow, let us assume you've done everything well, there's no need to discuss about it. What if it's not going well? What to do if you're not getting an adequate aspirate? The ones where I do the bone marrow is usually from the right posterior superior iliac spine. Because I'm a right-handed person, the right hip bone is huge, it's large, there's no organ, vein, nerve, artery, nothing to damage. If you put them in a proper position, the bone sticks right outside, close to the skin. I clean with 2 different solutions and I go ahead with the therapy, with the local anesthesia and finish up. Sorry, I'll just switch off my mobile. And I go ahead with the procedure. In that, I do both aspirate and biopsy the first time. Suppose I see that the aspirate is not good, then in that case, whatever little drop of blood also I get, I make the smears. I'm sure everyone is doing that, but there are some who get disheartened that there's nothing coming. Sometimes those drops are also important in order for us to get an insight into what is happening. I don't know whether it will be enough to give an answer, but it is enough to get an insight. And I would say that go ahead with the bone marrow biopsy and make imprints of the bone marrow biopsy. I'm sure you all know what is imprints. We just take the biopsy and we roll it along the slide. And you can make 2, 3, 4 such slides. And you can get, if the staining is good, you can pick up beautiful cells which are able to be released from the biopsy. We can pick it up. I regularly make imprints where I have my aspirates of poor. And I have been grateful that I have done that on many occasions. because I have been able to pick up answers. If on the other hand, you are doing aspirate and it's clotting very rapidly on you, by the time you take the smear and you are going to make the slide, it's clotting. Don't be disheartened. Suck out as much as the clot as possible, and then with whatever is remaining, you can make what is called as crushed smears. Actually, you can take 2 smears and crush it gently around, and your clot will disperse and the cells can be separated. You might be able to salvage your sample and get an insight into it. Again, is that enough to get an answer? I don't know. But at least your procedure has not gone waste. At least you've been able to get some form of an answer in it. In such people, you can again try to repeat the aspirate at the same setting with a heparinized syringe. You take heparin into the syringe and don't flush the bone marrow needle. Take heparin into the syringe, take a new bone marrow needle, new means unused bone marrow needle, and you can suck the sample straight into a heparinized syringe to see that it does not clot. And you can go ahead with further investigation. However, the smears and the staining on heparinized smears are not as good. They don't stand out as well as it is on natural smears. But at least you get an answer, at least you get an insight into it. And you get samples to do additional tests if there is a need. Many times we are overzealous in aspiration. And when we aspirate, suddenly a gush of marrow comes into your syringe. You are sure you hit a sinusoid, and therefore what is coming is probably also blood around it. Now if you make smears, it's a diluted sample, and you don't want to give out a report as diluted sample. It makes the whole procedure to have gone waste. What you can do is, you can put it at an angle on the slide, let all the blood drain out, suck out all the excess blood, and then with whatever fragments are remaining, you can make smears. See that the smears are thin enough, not too thick, otherwise your morphology is affected, cells are sticking too much to each other. So just suck out the excess blood and get on it. And like I said, first time always take a biopsy, so that you can make imprints if you're not getting good aspirate, and the biopsy adds on to your problem. There was a discussion on PO. Bone marrow has become an integral part of POs. And we have picked up how many granulomas, tuberculous granulomas on the biopsy, which would have been missed had we not done it. People, clinicians thinking is, and even pathologists to us, in POs is to take samples for cultures. Yes, we must take for cultures, but don't forget about the biopsy. Sometimes you can pick up tuberculomas. And I'll show you some slides on it. If you are doing a bone marrow, it is assumed that we are doing it, like I said, this discussion is on malignant marrows. So we are assuming that we are going to have malignancy there. So we always take excess sample for additional investigations. And there are large variety of additional investigations. If the intention is to treat, we must do the additional investigation. And there are investigations to prove this has the best diagnosis. If it's a non-AML M3, that is AML M0 onwards to the others, then this translocation of 821 is also considered to be a good prognostic indicator, and the chance of this person going into remission is good, and the need for transplantation is also less. Similarly, inversion 16, same thing, they are good prognostic indicators. But those who are non-AML M3, non-M2 also probably, all the rest have an equally poor prognosis. And therefore you can tell the patient relatives that, look, this is a poor prognostic feature. If you don't have the money, you have to sell property, jewelry, shares, the others. Please think carefully before you do it. I cannot deny therapy. I can offer you the therapy, but not at the